All right. It looks like we are good to go with minimal things going crazy. All right, maybe that's a good sign. Might not be. Okay. So because I know we have some visitors this evening, so we have been having our services split between Zoom and in person for a little more than a year, but for all of the people participating in services, we have the option of looking at the screen to see all of the prayers that we'll be joining together in. If you'd like, we do have prayer books in the backs or beneath the seats of the pews that you are in. If you can follow along in the prayer books. If you're using one of our prayer books, and you have two sets of page numbers, the page numbers we'll be following along with are the blue bracketed pages. Otherwise, if you just have one set of page numbers, those are going to be the ones we use. Or again, feel free to please use the screen. All of the prayers that we'll be joining together in will be on the screen in front of you. What else was I going to say? I've done this so many times I forgot. We also, it's our custom at Temple of Israel to participate fully in services together. So whether it's in Hebrew or in English, singing or reading, if it's on the screen and you feel comfortable participating, please read or sing together. And last but not least, please, oh goodness. Okay. As I announce cues to please rise or please be seated, I'm inviting everyone to please rise either in body or in spirit as we are comfortable. So I hope that our time together will be meaningful and bring us a little bit of a sense of Shabbat peace and wholeness that I know I certainly experience when we're all together sharing this time. So we're going to begin on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. I spoke too soon. The camera went out. Well, we can do this. All right. Hello again. One of the benefits of being with 350 rabbis is I got to see what it looks like to have services run with a tech person. So anyway, that's a work in progress. We're going to continue singing Hine Matov, how good it is for all of us to be together.
Yeah.
we'll continue together in song on page 130 with the words of Psalm 95 and 96, Lafun and Ranan. We're going to continue with the poem, the Fado D, on page 138. My guitar missed being played while I was gone. On 138, if you are following along in the prayer book, we'll join together in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. If you're on the screen, it's just the words that are there. As we reach the final verse, the 9th verse, we'll stand and face the entryway to welcome Shabbat like a bride or a queen.
This
Please be seated. We'll continue with the theme of welcoming the ministering angels of peace who will hopefully be joining us to bring us the sense of Shabbat peacefulness that we all crave. Shalom Aleichem is on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We'll continue now on page 120 as we kindle the Shabbat lights. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, mitzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Continue on page 144 as we transition to the Shema and her blessings with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'byomechon u'b'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala ubizman kariv v'imeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'alam ulam me'almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei de kedusha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran ve'alma ve'imeru amen. Please rise as we continue on page 146 with our call to prayer. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 148. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreyom balayla, kolel or mipnei choshech, kolel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei yom. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreyom balayla, kolel or mipnei choshech, kolel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei yom. Continue on the bottom of page 150. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We'll rise as we turn to page 152 and 153 for Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. We'll continue on the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. We'll continue with our prayer for freedom and redemption, Mi Chamocha, on page 158. continue with Hashkivenu. May God's sheltering presence rest on us this evening and every evening. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. We'll continue on page 164 and continue on even number pages after that with our tefillah. I'll invite everyone to please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rab leHoshia. Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Geburot, Umido Melach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Please be seated.
Yana Ensacha Mekom Hanala Benelam Vanalo Ensacha Kevodcha Malei Olam Darashti Kirvatcha B'kol libi Niraticha Utzeiti Livratcha Lekati Nitzati Where might I go to find you, O exalted and hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present eternal one? My heart cries out to you, please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Continue on the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing in this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. And on page 175 at the bottom. You are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha v'yira na'avod. And we'll continue with the prayer for thanksgiving on page 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. We'll continue with the prayer for peace. Shalom Rav on page 178. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha. Hasim leolam, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Hasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We'll take a moment for our own quiet thoughts and prayers. Yehu leratzon imrefi lehegon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Begoali Yehu leratzon imrefi Begon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Megoali We take the next few minutes of our service to hold our loved ones, our friends, our family who are in need of a prayer of healing and prayers. If you are on Zoom and you would like to type someone's name into the chat, I'll read their names aloud in a moment. If you're in the sanctuary and you have someone you're thinking of who is in need of a prayer of healing and you'd like to share their name, please do as I look your way. Lauren Siegel, Esther Greenwald, Roz Gabel, Danny Haynes, Pat Adamson, all those who have been injured mentally and physically in Ukraine. For all of our loved ones who are in need of a prayer of healing, we say, Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. Blessed is God who brings healing to those who are in need of healing. We'll join together on page 371 as we sing Mishabera. Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It does kind of seem like an April Fool's thing to say that the Torah portion this week is Parashat Tzorah, or Tazria, which is the Torah portion that all of our Bar and Bat Mitzvah students look forward to getting the least, because it's the one that everyone knows as the skin disease Torah portion. But in fact, that is actually the Torah portion for today. I have been blessed throughout my career to receive this Torah portion on multiple occasions as actually was considered an honor. I was invited in my senior sermon in rabbinical school was Parshat Tazria Metzora, when both of the skin disease Torah portions are linked together. And then I was invited to write a chapter of a book on the Reform Movement's Musar Torah commentary on Parshat Metzora, which again is the kind of conclusion to this whole skin disease section. But actually, what this Torah portion made me think about this week, especially as I've had so much time to reflect on things over the last few days, I spent some time with colleagues. One of the things we spent a lot of time talking about at the bar after the conference was what some people are calling the slap heard around the world at the Oscars with Will Smith and Chris Rock. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time explaining what happened. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and then 4 days later issued an apology. So the part that we were actually talking about more than any of the other pieces was the apology piece and whether or not the apology was good enough. And actually, I've read in the news actually a number of times over the last week as well, people debating this idea of whether or not this public apology, which I can't remember the format in particular that Will Smith gave it, whether that was enough, whether his denouncing of his violent act against another person in that kind of public way was good enough to kind of clear his otherwise, I guess, good name, for lack of any other context about Will Smith or Chris Rock. So one of the things that is interesting about Parashat Tazria and Metzora also is so whether or not this is a medically accurate description of a skin disease, rabbis throughout history have never actually thought of what somebody gets in this Torah portion or the next as actually a physical disease, although some dermatologists have made their career off of this Torah portion. The rabbis did not believe that this was a real skin disease. And instead, for the most part, the rabbis look at what's happening, the fact that there's no quarantine mechanism in this Torah portion. under most circumstances. But there's a point where the person, when they're diagnosed by the priest, that they're brought to a place outside of the community and they're forced to yell out to anyone who passes them by, I'm here and I have tzara'at, I'm impure. And this idea that having this physical thing on the outside of our bodies that kind of brings us to a point in our lives where we are forced to acknowledge a kind of spiritual ailment, because that's really ultimately what the rabbis say was the cause of tzara'at. The phrase that tzara'at comes up over and over again is nega tzara'at. And the only other place that this word nega appears, nega is the word that means plague. And the only other context in the Hebrew Bible where we see this word nega is in the 10 plagues. So this idea that we are plagued by something that then forces us to identify ourselves in this particular way is powerful. Issuing a public apology in this sense by this person is by shouting out in the Torah tells us that they're supposed to shout out, I'm impure, is supposed to inspire them ultimately to say the following after that they are atoning for whatever it was that they know that they've done. Sometimes the Torah or the rabbis tell us anyway that the person gets tzara'at because they don't know immediately what they've done wrong and that they have to do some soul searching and reflection. And sometimes that takes a while, even as much as weeks at a time before they realize what they've done in their community that would have caused the kind of suffering that would require them, or that would require, I guess, God to plague them with a particular thing. Again, not going into the whole like concept of divine reward and punishment, the question of how we deal with difficult moments, in particular, when we are acting in a way that is a poor reflection on our kind of idealized selves, is something that I think that the rabbis really want us to think about with this. And they challenge us, really, when we find ourselves walking down a road that we don't like or that we would hold someone else accountable for. They challenge us to say, like they forced the person who had tzara'at in ancient days, to be okay with kind of a temporary state of misdoing. The only way that we can become better as people is to acknowledge the little flaws and imperfections that we have, to be comfortable with shouting those things out and saying, I'm imperfect, I'm human, and I'm okay with that, but I'm going to work really hard to make myself better at every chance I get. I think that's the message, the real message of tzara'at. And for all of the challenges that we might see with this verse of the person who's being forced into isolation because of this, what we would think of most of the time as being a skin disease, is challenging. But that, I think, is precisely what the rabbis want us to do. They want to challenge us with this verse in order for us to be self-reflective about our moments. And when we've done something wrong, to admit it, but also to admit that in the moment that we did it, that it's okay to say, I'm human, I made a mistake, and that doesn't define me permanently. I think part of what we have in our society today, and especially in a world where apologies, especially among public figures, are so all over the place and public, I mean, more public than any other generation in history, that we want to hold people to a higher standard and say that, and as my rabbinic colleagues and I were doing, kind of judging someone's public apology for the words that they said without really knowing the intention behind it or anything else. So I hope that we can hold ourselves to such a high standard, to be okay with who we are as imperfect human beings, and also to own the things that make us imperfect in the moment so that we can push ourselves to become better in the future. And with that, I will say Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue with Aleinu, and I'll invite everyone to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol. Latei Lam Yotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kikoye Haratzot, Velo Samanu Kemishpachot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Kalkenu Kahem, Velo Raleinu Kepol HaMonam, Ramatu Korim, Umishkatavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. We devote the next few moments of our service to hold in our hearts and our memories those for whom we have lost. We remember Madeline Foss, who we are in a period of Shloshim within 30 days of her death. We also hold in our hearts those for whom this Shabbat and the previous week are a yard site or an anniversary of their passing. Rose Michelson, Bertha Slegman, Barney Wynn, Louis Eisenberg, Laverne Siegel, William Berkeley, Norma Mark, Irving Roth, Bessie G. Knigoff, Robert Lawrence, and Annie Steinberg. If there are loved ones who you are thinking of and would like their names to be said before Kaddish on Zoom, please type their names into the chat and I'll read them in a moment. And as I look your way in the sanctuary, if there is someone you're thinking of, please feel free to say their name as I look your way. We say, Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of our loved ones who came before us be a blessing. We'll join together on page 598 as we rise together for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'bchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shmei de kedusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace in the heavens on high bring peace to us here on earth, to all Israel and all people of the world. And may God send comfort to all those who are mourning. Together Together we say, Amen. Please be seated. We have a few announcements of upcoming programs at the temple. The first I have is Sunday, April 10th, which is not this Sunday, but next Sunday. We have a band called Balalaika Fantasy, which is part of our Music on Sunday series. It's the final concert of this season. They happen to be a group of musicians, which include a person from Ukraine and a person from Russia. And we scheduled this before the conflict, but they certainly are an example of how people should get along together to make music rather than hate and war and all the other things. So they play wonderful Ukrainian, Russian, and Gypsy and Jewish folk music. So if you are interested, again, April 10th at 3:00 p.m. here in the sanctuary, tickets are available at the door, or you can still buy them online. Our temple book club on Zoom will be meeting on Tuesday, April 19th at 7:30, and we'll be discussing The Man in the White Shark Skin Suit, My Family's Exodus from Old Cairo to the New World. All of our book club discussions since we started this, I guess, more than a year ago now, have been really interesting and fun, and we've had good turnouts. And even if you haven't read the book, you should still consider coming, because we all learn from each other, and it's good times together. Again, that's on Zoom on April 19th at 7:30. We have a mitzvah day coming up, and a mitzvah day which includes doing all sorts of things to help around the temple, planting flowers, yard cleanup, cleaning up things inside of the temple. We'll also be doing a food drive. So even if you are not able to come to help out with some of the things around here, if you'd like to drop by and drop off some non-perishable food items, we donate fairly regularly to the food bank at United Ministries, and the Temple of Israel has been one of their leading suppliers of food, especially during COVID times. So they do rely on our generosity, and so I'm hoping that we'll again be able to turn out a good showing to bring to them. And there's going to be a food truck to conclude our morning at I think at noon. The food truck will be no charge, but donations are always appreciated. And the program entirely begins at 9:30. 9:30 in the morning, we have a religious school tefillah, which actually is my most well-attended service of any time. It actually kind of rivaled this year's high holidays. We regularly get 105 people, including our religious school students and their families, including parents and grandparents, and really like all members of the family are always welcome. But it's pretty awesome to see the kids and singing. So before we begin work at 10, if you'd like to join in our religious school tefillah, you are welcome. I hope you do. So let's see. Last but not least, we have a really cool opportunity. There is an organization called Violins of Hope, which was founded by a father and son duo who reclaimed and refurbished violins that were taken by the Nazis in the Holocaust, and they turned them into these very beautiful, both visually beautiful and sounding beautiful instruments. And they have a troupe of musicians and dancers who have put together this wonderful program. And we are really fortunate in Greenville that they are coming to the Peace Center on May 4th. And I believe tickets are still available, but they might be running out. So please check out the Peace Center's website. This is at 7:30 p.m. on May 4th. And I hope that the temple has a good showing, because this really is a wonderful program. We are going to conclude our service with saying Kiddush and blessing our children and Motzi, and then we'll have a concluding psalm. We'll join together this. It's not meant for drinking. They're cold. This is April Fool's. I didn't do that, but I'm glad I noticed now. We'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen l'chaim. Did you do that? I'm used to being heckled from the bima. It's okay. We're going to say this blessing for all of our children, whether you are sitting with your children now or you are thinking about them or can see them on the screen. This blessing is for all of our kids. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May you be blessed like the sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Menashe. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May you be blessed like the mothers of our people, like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. We wish for all of our children they be blessed, to be proud of who they are, and always strive to be the best version of themselves. As we say these words of Torah for them. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always feel close to you, and may you always be blessed with peace. Amen. And we have Amotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And I'll get some challah in a little bit. After we sing our concluding song, we'll join together and sing Oseh Shalom, which is on page 598, if you'd like. Oseh Shalom, Bimroma, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'alpo Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Bimroma, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'alpo Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Bimroma, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'alpo Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom, Bimroma, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'alpo Yisrael, Ve'imeru Amen. Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you all here. I hope you have a very good Shabbat. And I'm going to invite everyone on Zoom to unmute. I can. All right, everyone should be able to unmute.
You did it.
Um,
Shabbat shalom, everybody.